Earlier this month, the Object 120 was down tiered to a battle rating of 7.3. For experienced players, this should start alarm bells ringing. The Object was a post-war high-velocity tank destroyer, armed with ammunition able to punch through over 400mm of armour plate. So why is it sitting at battle rating 7.3? Is this vehicle bad? No, it's just a player base that sucks. People buy these premiums without knowing how to play them, their win rates go down, and Gaijin without using their brains simply down tiers a vehicle instead of saying, I don't know, releasing a guide or making a post on how to play the vehicle. This isn't the first vehicle to see this kind of ridiculous down tiering. The German Tiger and early Panther variants are the best examples of this in the game at the minute. New players rush through these vehicles, get bad results, and then cry German suffers re. Honestly, if everyone in the War Thunder community are intentionally jaded out in their Leopard 2A6s, we could get it down to battle rating 6.7. Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of the Object 120. Starting as always with the basics, this vehicle is a rank 5 battle rating 7.3 tank destroyer located in the Soviet tech tree. Being a rank 5 premium, it will be effective at researching all vehicles between the ranks of 1 and 6, allowing you to grind out almost all of the Soviet tech tree vehicles. To unlock this tank, you'll have to purchase it in a pack from the Gaijin store. For the cost of €50, you get the tank, 2,000 golden eagles, and 15 days of premium time. After buying the vehicle, you'll have an additional crew train cost of 10,000 silver lions. To purchase the expert in ace qualifications for the tank, it will cost you an additional 790,000 silver lions and 2,000 golden eagles respectively. This tank is also fairly economically friendly to play, only having a repair cost of 1,700 silver lions, giving it one of the lowest repair costs in the game. Going on to the rewards, and the Object is a base modifier of 2.14, so you can expect a 428% modifier with a free-to-play account and 642% with a premium account. You also have a base silver line modifier of 1.4, the highest available for a premium in the game, giving you a base silver line modifier of 280% with a free-to-play account and 420% with a premium account. In terms of customization, there are several camouflages available to purchase for Golden Eagles, although there are no skins located on the Gaijin marketplace. In terms of lineups, there are several competitive vehicles in the Soviet 7.3 lineup, including the BMP-1, T-44-100, T-54, IS-3, and the ZSU 57-2. In this video we're going to cover the mobility, armour and firepower of the vehicle before finishing with a conclusion. If you do like these reviews, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. Starting as always with the engine and performance, and the Object 120 is powered by an engine producing 480 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 27 tons, it gives the vehicle a power to weight ratio of 17.8 horsepower per ton. This is actually pretty good for a battle rating 7.3 vehicle. While not exceptional, it is just good enough for you to act in the tank destroyer role, that being slowly moving around just behind your heavier frontline units. Taking a look at the transmission, and although you do have a good theoretical top speed of 64 km per hour, in practice you won't be able to achieve this speed on most terrains. Your reverse speed of 15 km per hour is also pretty good, especially by Soviet standards. The main issue with this tank for me is its steering. Being quite a long vehicle without neutral steering, it has awful low speed manoeuvrability, making it quite hard to make small course corrections without killing all of your speed. The tank also seems to struggle when trying to climb hills, despite the good power to weight ratio. This makes the Object less mobile than most tank destroyers, and the traditional tank destroyer playstyle of working a ridgeline isn't really practicable in this tank. Overall, the design of the Object 120 places it somewhere between the American doctrine of high speed and the German doctrine of low speed, high armour. The straight speed of the Object is very good, similar to that of the Hellcat, well known for its snappy acceleration. However, when you try to turn the tank, it feels incredibly sluggish. It's like your Object 120 has suddenly turned into a Jagdtiger. But as we'll see shortly, you have the same poor mobility of a Jagdtiger, but absolutely none of the armour. Okay, moving on to the armour and survivability, and the first thing to mention is that this tank has a crew of 4 men, with 3 in the turret and a driver in the hull. One positive is that your crew are split down the middle. There are 2 men on the left and 2 on the right. This should prevent you from dying due to crew loss, at least against subcaliber APDS and solid shot projectiles. The reason this won't work against other type of shells is the fact that the Object 120 has hull break on both the hull and the turret. This means if a projectile using chemical energy hits your vehicle, it will instantly draw the stank. While not technically a chemical round, APC-BC with explosive fillers also trigger this hull break. This obviously isn't great for your survivability, and is actually made worse by the fact that you are now at battle rating 7.3, where most tanks are now using chemical rounds as their standard ammunition. As I said, this gives the Object 120 pretty awful survivability, and forces you into a conservative playstyle. But moving on to the arm performance itself, and to test this we're going to be using the DM12 round fired by the Leopard 1, also at battle rating 7.3. Starting with the lower frontal plate, and we have a measly 35mm of armour protection. As you can see, it is very flat, meaning you don't even have the ability to rely on bounces. Your upper frontal plate, however, is very well angled at 70 degrees, not enough to defeat APDS shells, but it will certainly defeat APC-BC and some heater-fest rounds. But as always with sloped armour, you should never rely on it. Regardless of the sloping, this armour gives you around 100mm of effective protection. Moving up to the turret, and we have less than 100mm of armour across the cheeks and the breech. As I mentioned earlier though, this armour is only really valuable against inert solid shot rounds. Heater-fest rounds will instantly destroy the tank upon impact, even if the blast doesn't directly kill crew members. If we turn the camera to the side of the vehicle, we have a constant thickness of 16mm running all the way along the chassis, which increases to above 50mm on the hull side. Moving up to the turret, and the initial part of the armour is 35mm in thickness, but drops down to 19mm around the turret bustle. This bustle is very thin and contains your first stage ammunition. Taking a round here, regardless of the ammunition type, will result in an ammunition detonation, again significantly reducing the survivability of this tank. Overall, the mechanics, protection and general survivability of the Object 120 are all absolutely awful. Although this tank consistently sees down tiers to 6.3, every gun it faces is easily able to one-shot it 95% of the time. This more than anything forces you to play this tank in a more methodical and slow-paced fashion. Sitting back in cover and playing as a long-range sniper is the best way to excel in this tank, and as we'll see in the next segment, boy do you have a good sniping gun. Moving on to the weapons and ammunition, and as you can see the Object 120 is armed with the 152mm M69 cannon. This is a unique weapon, and it is used on no other vehicle in War Thunder. It has a very long barrel, which naturally gives the ammunition a fantastic muzzle velocity. But before we talk about ammunition, let's cover the basics. The gun is not stabilised. This isn't really an issue at your own battle rating of 7.3, but becomes a big problem in a full up tier, where your lack of a stabiliser and poor armour will end up getting you killed in most face-to-face engagements. The gun has 15 degrees of gun elevation, but an awful 5 degrees of gun depression, seriously limiting your ability to use hills and ridge lines. This poor gun depression isn't caused by the rear mounting of the turret, rather the turret's low profile, as you can still only depress the gun 5 degrees even when the gun is aimed off to the side of the hull. You can carry 22 rounds in total, with all 22 of those rounds being classed as first stage ammunition. This is due to the Object 120 using an autoloader, meaning your reload will always be a constant speed, no matter the status of your crew. So taking a look at the reloading skill under the loader section, and you can see that we have a constant reload speed of 10 seconds. This is actually pretty poor for the battle rating, with most other tanks firing every 7 to 8 seconds. However, compared to contemporary heavy tanks, your reload is much faster. This reload isn't too bad when sitting in a stationary position, relatively unchallenged, but the second you start trading fire, your deficit in fire rate can easily lead to you losing either the position or your life. Moving on to the targeting skill under the gunner section, and we can see that you have a base turret rotation speed of 12.6 degrees per second, which rises to 18 degrees per second with an ace crew. This isn't actually too bad, and gives you the same kind of turret traverse as the M18 Hellcat, albeit on a much larger chassis. Next we move on to the modifications, and I want to point out that this tank does not get access to any sort of range finding equipment, other than the range finding estimation of the crew. Thankfully however, your high velocity cannon doesn't really need an accurate ranging measurement. As we will see shortly, this gun is basically a point and click adventure. You also have a pretty good field of view in the gunner's sight, as well as a base 3.5x zoom and an optional 7x zoom, giving you pretty good long range accuracy on most maps. Moving on to the ammunition, and we have 3 available, 2 stock and 1 unlockable. Your stock shell is a heater fest round. It travels at 1000 meters per second and can penetrate 480mm of armor at all ranges, essentially giving you a top tier heater fest shell at battle rating 7.3. Not bad at all for dealing with most opponents you face, but we both know this isn't the round that makes this tank infamous in game. But before this, we have a high explosive shell. This is a simple HE round containing 5.9kg of TNT filler, giving you a respectable 49mm of explosive penetration. With its high muzzle velocity of 960 meters per second, you can use this as an effective meme round, capable of easily penetrating the early main battle tanks such as the Leopard 1s. However, no matter what your target is, this next round is probably better at killing it. This is an AP FSDS round. It travels at a staggering muzzle velocity of 1,710 meters per second, giving you literally top tier shell flight characteristics of batter rating 7.3. On most maps, you barely have to aim above a target, no matter the engagement range. This is what gives this tank such a fearsome reputation as a sniper. It can sit back and easily pick off players at ranges where most opponents can't really return accurate fire. The round also has insane penetration, capable of punching through 405mm of flat armour, and against armour angled at 60 degrees, it still manages a respectable 207mm of penetration. With this round, there is no tank on the battlefield that you will even struggle to penetrate. The Object 120 also has no sort of secondary weapons, meaning while your main gun is reloading, you are completely vulnerable. You also have no smoke grenades, so along with your incredibly large hull, the vehicle is very hard to conceal if caught in an unfavourable position. Overall, the ammunition of this tank is fantastic, but it's let down by its poor gun depression, long reload, and the lack of a stabiliser. When in a static position overlooking a travel corridor, there are very few opponents that pose a bigger threat to an enemy than an Object 120. But actually getting to that position in this tank is very hard. Not only are you fairly slow, you're also incredibly vulnerable when moving. Most other tanks at this batter rating are also in this kind of situation, especially in heavy batter rating 6.7 games. But when up tiered, most tanks have a mobility, armour and firepower advantage over you. To conclude, the Object 120 is a very effective premium at its new batter rating of 7.3. It fits into the Soviet 7.3 lineup very nicely, and you can even bring along the IS-6 for an even more powerful lineup. Of course, this low batter rating has made the tank obscenely powerful, as it now frequently fights Tiger IIs and other late war tanks, which it basically lol-pens. The down tiering of this tank was purely a case of the player base being bad players, and driving its win rates down. This vehicle is fine at batter rating 7.7 in my opinion. And the same thing could happen in the future with the T10A. More casual players rush to unlock it, and then suck in high tier games, driving the batter rating down. This system of statistic based balancing isn't good for the game, and Gaijin should really balance a vehicle based on the performance of the top 30 to 40% of players. The Object 120 is a very powerful vehicle when in an ideal situation. However, its relatively low mobility, lack of a gun stabiliser, and somewhat lengthy reload prevent it from being a flexible all-rounder. It instead relies on holding a sightline to be effective. Once here, however, your high power cannon is exceptional, with ammunition that keeps you competitive all the way up to top tier matches. In many ways, this tank used to be the ideal premium. It was different, required skill to excel in, and wasn't particularly meta changing. But for the price tag of $50, it is a very expensive vehicle, especially when you can spend $10 more and get the T72 AV terms. Honestly, if you are going to cash out on a top tier vehicle, I'd get the T72 terms instead of this. Obviously, if you're new to the game, you shouldn't be buying high tier premiums at all, as you don't have the knowledge to play them well. Personally, I wouldn't say that this tank is worth the full $50. Yes, it is powerful, but it's only a rank 5 premium. There are also several tech tree vehicles that fit the meta better in my opinion. For example, putting a talisman on the BMP-1 or the T44-100 are just as good at grinding as this premium in my opinion. So to finish up this video, if you want this tank, just wait for the sale. And if you want a high tier grinder, investing €10 more in the T72 AV terms is a much better investment. Alright lads, thank you very much for watching this video. What do you guys think about this vehicle? If you have any questions or suggestions to improve the channel, then please feel free to leave a comment below. I'd also like to mention that I now have a Patreon, so if you'd like to support me, then the link is in the description. I also have a Twitter account, and I can be found at the handle SAKO Sniper. On top of this, I also have a second channel where I upload live commentary and other non-War Thunder content. So if you like more laid back videos, then my second channel may be more your thing. If you do enjoy these reviews, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing, but more importantly lads, I hope you have a great day, and thank you very much for watching.